Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are setting the stage for an incredibly energetic deep dive into the modern and honestly highly optimized tools of kids' content creation. We're going to look at exactly how digital creators capture the attention of literally millions of young viewers. We'll explore the specific, almost scientific strategies they use to keep them watching, and most importantly, what the actual science tells us about the hidden human cost of all this hyper-engagement. It's a completely fascinating look at the intersection of technology, platform algorithms, and human cognitive development. So, buckle up. Okay, let's dive into this. If you want to succeed in today's attention economy, you need the ultimate toolkit for making viral, bingeable children's content, right? You absolutely need to know exactly what the platform wants and exactly what young eyes and ears simply cannot turn away from. So, how do creators actually build these irresistible digital traps?
Well, let's start with Section 1, Building the Perfect Kids Video.
In this high-speed, candy-colored world of optimized digital creation, it all begins with the visuals. And here's the thing, modern creators aren't necessarily spending months hand-drawing animations anymore. Not at all. They're utilizing insanely powerful AI image generators like Magnific. With just a simple text prompt, something like Candyland City, creators can instantly pump out endless, hyper-stimulating, fantastical backgrounds. These aren't just colorful images either. They are mathematically complex, intensely saturated scenes specifically designed to immediately captivate young eyes. And because these tools can generate endless variations on a dime, creators can rapidly change scenes to keep visual stimulation at an absolute maximum.
But visuals are really only half the battle. Creators pair these hyper-stimulating AI visual worlds with highly optimized audio. They turn to vast, royalty-free libraries like TunePocket to arm themselves with an essential arsenal of perfectly engineered audio tracks. We are talking about upbeat, instantly recognizable nursery rhymes, the Itsy Bitsy Spider, the Wheels on the Bus, Mary Had a Little Lamb, the classics. By layering these familiar, repetitive, and comforting melodies right over those fast-paced, fantastical visuals, creators essentially lock in auditory engagement. The child's brain gets hooked by the familiar song, while their eyes are glued to the rapid-fire AI imagery. It's an incredibly potent combo. And that brings us to Section 2, Hacking the YouTube Algorithm. Once you actually have a child's attention, the ultimate goal is to make sure they, and by extension the algorithm itself, never ever leave your channel. Now what's really interesting about this slide is that massive number right there, 3.2. According to a 2026 analysis by Data GlobeHub, putting playlist links in an in-screen adds an average of 3.2 extra minutes of watch time per session. Think about that for a second. That is a massive metric. The algorithm doesn't just reward individual content, it rewards entire sessions. When an end screen seamlessly funnels a viewer into another piece of content and triggers passive binge behavior, the algorithm reads that as a massive quality indicator and starts pushing the content to even broader audiences.
So the absolutely crucial point here is how to build this binge funnel. Industry experts like the folks at Geyer lay out very precise steps for high-converting end screens. First, creators must design clean visual space in the final 15 to 20 seconds. You can't just slap a thumbnail over a super busy scene. Second, you add a specific targeted element or an auto-playing playlist. And third, and this is key, you must script a verbal call to action bridging the content. You don't just say, "Hey, thanks for watching." You say, "Watch this next to see what happens to the Candy City." This smooths the transition, triggering that passive binge behavior and racking up heavily rewarded recommended traffic.
Up until now, we've basically looked at this purely as an optimization puzzle. We've seen how to win the algorithm, right? But we really need to slow our pace down for a moment here and ask a much more sobering question. When we combine rapid-fire AI visuals, looping nursery rhymes, and these frictionless binge funnels, what does this hyper-optimized, fast-paced content actually do to a young developing brain?
Let's look into that in Section 3, the algorithm versus the brain.
To answer this, we're going to look at the findings of a really rigorous, peer-reviewed study published in the official journal of the American Academy of Pediatrics. This study directly investigated this exact dynamic. But before we look at the results, we need to understand the cognitive stakes. The researchers were measuring something called executive function. Basically, these are the crucial prefrontal skills in the brain that underlie goal-directed behavior. We're talking about a child's ability to pay attention, their working memory, their inhibitory control, and their self-regulation. Executive function is absolutely key to positive social and cognitive development, and it's strongly associated with future success in school. This is literally the foundation of a child's mind.
Which leads us straight to Section 4, Testing Executive Function.
To see how modern media impacts this mental foundation, researchers took 64-year-olds and set up a highly controlled experiment to test their executive function immediately after media exposure. The kids were randomly assigned to one of three groups. Group A watched a fast-paced, fantastical TV cartoon where the scene completely changed on average every 11 seconds. Super fast. Group B watched an educational TV show that was realistic, with way slower scene changes averaging every 34 seconds. And Group C was the control. They were given markers and crayons for self-paced free drawing. Now here is the absolute kicker. The kids only participated in these activities for just 9 minutes before being tested. Just 9 minutes.
Following those 9 minutes, the researchers put the children through 4 specific tasks to test their minds. First up, the Tower of Hanoi. This is a puzzle where you move discs on pegs while following strict rules. It tests problem solving. Second, the head, toes, knees, shoulders task, where kids had to follow reverse commands, like touching their toes when told to touch their head. This tests working memory and rule adherence. Third was a delay of gratification test, waiting 330 seconds completely alone in a room to get 10 snacks, instead of ringing a bell immediately for just 2 snacks. This tests emotional, hot decision-making. And finally, a backward digit span task, which is exactly what it sounds like, repeating numbers backward.
Let's look at Section 5, the pacing problem. And this brilliantly illustrates the core issue. This data brilliantly illustrates exactly what happens when the rapid-fire pacing required by the algorithm collides with the prefrontal cortex of a 4-year-old child. Let's look closely at the data chart from the study. The blue bars represent the children who drew. The red bars represent the children who watched the slower educational TV. Notice how they are mostly in the positive range? But look at the green bars. The green bars represent the fast-paced TV group. Across every single metric, the head, toes, knees, shoulders task, the backward digit span, the Tower of Hanoi, and the delay of gratification, the green bars literally plunged deep into the negative. The fast-paced group scored significantly worse across all executive function tasks compared to the other two groups. It's wild to see it laid out like that.
The researchers concluded with this incredibly stark reality. Just 9 minutes of viewing a fast-paced television cartoon had immediate negative effects on 4-year-olds' executive function. I really want you to think about that. The hyper-stimulating, fantastical pacing, the exact techniques used by digital creators to hack retention, boost end-screen clicks, and win the attention economy actively depletes a young child's cognitive resources. And it happens in under 10 minutes.
Finally, we reach Section 6, a creator's dilemma.
This all brings us to a really profound dilemma. We live in an era where incredible tools like AI image generators and fast audio libraries give creators absolutely unprecedented power to build captivating worlds. We have precise, granular data on how to funnel viewers from one piece of content to the next just to satisfy the algorithm. But the exact methods required to win this digital game are the very same methods that actively deplete a young audience's executive function. It leaves anyone involved in media, parenting, or technology with a huge question to ponder about the hidden human costs of our highly optimized digital world. When creating or consuming content for the youngest among us, what is the ultimate goal? Will you optimize for the algorithm or for the developing brain? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I truly hope it gave you some fascinating insights to think about today.